Welcome to Meaningful Morning. We are less than 100 hours away from Earth Day. In our culture, the Earth is known as a Shala Murti, which means an icon of divinity that moves. The Earth is not a planet. The Earth is divinity. And to treat her accordingly, the way she treats us. As we continue our review of these life-saving, life-making values, appreciate what you have. Relax the body, enjoy the breath. Appreciate all of the valuables you have, and remember where they came from. Sahanaw Bhunaktu. May we enjoy, and through that enjoying, enjoy. I was recently listening to what is known as the Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement. This is an agreement essentially between America and the 4 biggest cigarette producers. In this agreement, these cigarette producers are to contribute around $365 billion to the government, who is struggling to keep up with the health of those who smoke. I think since the year 2000, these tobacco companies have contributed around $9 billion a year. Sounds great, but here's the stipulation. This equates to around, this extra money they're paying, around 50 cents a pack. So what did they do to a pack of cigarettes? Increase the price. With no harm to their revenues or profits. This is an overt example of short-term thinking. And that short-term thinking doesn't work. For work to happen, for change to be meaningful, this has to be systematic. Meaningful Mornings, our courses, is systematic satsanga. Is not a casual gathering of those who are trying to be noble. Our whole community is about this. We have the mentorship sangha. We have a daily gathering. That which is systematic becomes systemic. This becomes natural. The Sanskrit word for this is vasana. When you are engaged in systematic satsanga, your print changes from living a life of valuables to living a life of values. We had come across this visually in chapter 8. In chapter 8, which people associate so strongly with dying and death, when actually it's about living in life, you can choose 2 paths. The path of the moon, which is a path of valuables, or the path of the sun, which is the path of values. The path of the moon makes us dependent. The path of the sun makes us independent. The choice is yours. In all of the one with ones that I have, I essentially am reminding the seekers who are coming to me with their challenges, it is your choice to interpret this as a problem or training. When we are engaged in a systematic study of values, our nishchaya, our determination, our passion rises. Now, all of us would be quick to say, yeah, that's me. How do you know factually that you're becoming more determined? You have less sankalpa, which means doubt. More determination, less doubt about the path to follow, the purpose of your life. We reviewed verses 13 and 14 yesterday. We are now on 15. Yasmano dvijate lokaha, lokano dvijate chayaha, harsha marsha bhayo dvegaihi, mukto yasacha me priyaha. Joy. The 13th value is in the second line, and that is mukta. To be independent, to be free from what? I'm reading Pujaswami Chinmayananda's writing. When a desired object is gained, joy comes. That's harsha. If not gained, envy at those who have when satisfied. That's amarsha. Greed for more. When we possess what we desire, fear of losing it, that's bhaya. When the desired object is missing, anxiety over its destiny, that's udvega. All of these are not in the one who has no desire for objects. Pujaswami Chinmayananda systematically explained what happens when we are dependent. We struggle with greed and fear and anxiety. Value number 14, no dvijate. To not be annoyed by the world, to not annoy the world. Pujaswami Tejomayananda had shared the most meaningful way to practice this value is to tune out the person and tune in the presence. If I look at you and I'm annoyed by how you tie your tie, but then I tune into the reason you're alive and the reason I'm alive is the same, who cares about that tie then? Be deeper from the person to the presence. One more thought about how to let go of annoyance. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there's an entire chapter on classifying creation. Made up of this, made up of that. But finally, Shri Krishna shares, give up classification. When you classify, you inevitably exclude. So for us, be careful with labels. We underestimate how that creates likes and limit. In our silence retreat, that's why we chant with the mind rather than letting the mind fervently interpret. Verse 60, a very dense verse. Anapeksha shuchir dakshaha udasino gata vyataha Sarvarambha parityagi yo madbhakta same priyaha. Joy. Number 15, anapeksha. It is one who is not living for what they don't have, not living for unreasonable hope. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a beautiful Gita called Bhikshu Gita. And this begins with sharing the ladder of fall that comes with greed. Lobha anartha. Greed is one who's always tuned into having more, having more, having more. Here's what comes in this ladder of fall that started with greed. Seyam himsanratam dambaha kama krodasmayo madaha bhedo vairama vishvasaha samsparda vyasanani cha. There are 15 rungs that one falls by being greedy. Quickly they are: steya, one becomes more thieving oriented. Himsa, one becomes harmful. Anritam, one becomes untruthful. Dambaha, pretentious. Kamaha, desirous. Krodaha, angry. Smayaha, egotistical. Madaha, arrogant. Bhedaha, separating, classifying like I just described. Vairam has an animosity towards all. Avishvasaha, they become less faithful. They're suspicious. Samsparda, jealous, competitive. And vyasanani, they become addicted. Whatever they're greedy towards, that creates more addictions. Anapeksha, not living for what you don't have, is a great way to inhibit these further vices. Next is Shuchi, 16. Shuchi means to be pure. A way we can practice this is to not postpone. Purity comes from organization, and an organized person doesn't postpone. Cleaning, talking, getting up early, practicing. Next is Daksha. This is 17. Daksha is when one is efficiently inputting, one is adding intent, and then implementing. Daksha is when you input, you decide, and you implement efficiently. But now I'll take this to a more rigorous interpretation. Daksha is when you do only what you can do. Now, what is it that only you can do? Inquire and be enlightened. If you are living your life for any purpose other than freedom, independent joy, that's adaksha. It's being disorganized, inefficient. Next, udasina. This is number 18. It is to rise above any source of turbulence. What Pujya Swami Tejavananda shared was, the way we can live udasina is to expect what happens. If it happened to you, to expect that. That was supposed to happen to you. If it didn't happen to you, to expect that. That's a perfect connection to sthane. All is as all is. Number 19, gata vyata. Vyata means to be disturbed. Gata is to let go of that disturbance. And the easiest way to do this is kata. When you are listening to the life and teachings of divinity, there's no vyata then. You're not disturbed. And finally, the 20th value, it is tyaga. I'm reading to you what I shared with all of our Upanishad students yesterday. What is an example of tyaga? The resolve of a seeker of knowledge should be thus. Either I will accomplish my mission or I will drop dead. But I will not go back to the old ways of ignorant living. So what is tyaga? You just keep moving forward. And that's why I shared in different ways last week. For Vivek, I can't come back. That would be me not practicing tyaga. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to listen to people are people. How many of you did? A very wonderful part of this song is where they share, we are different people with different needs, which is so obvious. If you practice this, you feel the difference, but you don't feel the distance. People who don't look like me, but I don't have to feel distant to them. Your application for this morning is the next value that will come in is bhakti. I want you to write a poem on bhakti. Write a poem, share this on our website. If you're not a poet and you don't get a lot of vas in your life, just make it acrostic, okay? Write an acrostic poem. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just research it. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.